Procedurally generated dungeon crawlers can be a lot of fun and provide a great challenge when done correctly, and there's a brand new one called Quest of Dungeons available now on the PS4. But does this game end up making you feel like a true hero, or is it worse than getting locked down deep in a dungeon? Quest of Dungeons is a randomly generated dungeon crawler where you're going to be working your way from floor to floor, defeating plenty of monsters and big bosses, as well as, of course, completing quests and gathering plenty of loot. You have 4 classes to choose from at the beginning. The warrior, of course, it's going to be armed with a sword and much more about melee. The assassin, who is kind of like a ranger, uses a bow and able to hit enemies from a farther distance. The mage, which of course isn't going to have a whole lot of defense, but can use all kinds of cool spells. And then there's the shaman, which is kind of a mix of warrior and mage in one. And there's even an unlockable class once you're able to complete the first dungeon, the necrodancer from Crypt of the Necrodancer. The 2 main dungeons of the game are kind of like your story-driven one with a little bit of story elements at the beginning and the end of it, with an eventual goal, of course, defeating the boss, and aren't necessarily extremely long overall. But then there's the customizable dungeon, where you can set the amount of floors and other things and have at it. So there's a lot of replayability when it comes to Quest for Dungeons. While the aesthetic and type of monsters you're going to be dealing with are the same each time you're going through these dungeons, however, everything else is random as far as the design is going, the items that are placed about, and even the weapons and armor that you're able to gather are also random. They kind of have set pictures, but they'll have different names and different stats each time you end up playing, so you're never quite sure what you're going to end up with. While exploring around, of course, you're going to be battling a lot of monsters, but you may accidentally walk into a room and there's a boss waiting for you. You may be ready sometimes, and other times they're going to get the jump on you and easily able to take you out. One thing I love, though, is that you're able to kind of back out of some rooms and be able to close the door behind you. So if you're quick enough and open the door and just, oh, nope, I don't want anything to do with this, you can get out of the room, close the door, and the enemies will stay there. So then you can kind of find another way around or level up some more and then return. Another thing I really like about this game is the fact that the floors don't get closed off to you once you go to the next one. A lot of dungeon crawlers, when you make it to the next floor, the one you were just on is gone, you're unable to access it again. But in Quest for Dungeons, you can actually go all the way to the very bottom floor, and then go all the way back to the very first floor if you wanted to. The advantage of doing so would of course be finding keys that you can use to unlock certain doors that you didn't have before, as well as of course leveling up and then returning for the harder boss creatures or other quests that you're trying to complete. Throughout the course of the gameplay, you're also going to run into quests, and these quests are 2 different kinds. You'll have ones where you'll just have to find a random item, like a pendant or a crown, and they'll give you a generalized location of where it is, like southwest corner or northeast or central area of that particular map, and then you go there and it will be placed. It's not there until you get the quest, though, which is something that I think is cool, and the other kind of quest is defeating a really tough monster, something that's usually on the floor already, but just a much harder version of it is then placed randomly, just like the other items are placed, so you're never sure where they're going to be, and when you run into one, they once again, just like bosses, may get the upper hand and easily take you out if you're not careful. Overall, while exploring, I thought there was a good amount of different weapons or weapon types for you to find, though you don't get really any change to your appearance by putting on different armors or anything like that. There's only a couple of sprites, actually, for each of the characters you get to play as, so it's a very old-school look to everything. In fact, the main character sprites don't even have like a back animation or front, they just kind of have the left and right animations as they're going from tile to tile. Everything in the game is turn-based, though. It's not like active time where if you just stand still, things are going to be able to come at you. So every movement you make and every attack you make counts as a turn and like 1 second of the in-game timer. Besides the factor of everything being random, there's also 4 different difficulties for you to tackle, which will make enemies a lot tougher to handle when you're going inside of the dungeons and exploring. So this adds even more replayability when you're wanting to go into the game. From the technical side of things, everything ran fine with Quest for Dungeons. I also did like the music. I don't think there was enough of it. A few tracks in particular when exploring the dungeons were a little bit short for my liking, but one song that definitely was awesome was the shop theme. The shop theme is amazing and my favorite song by far in this title. Quest of Dungeons is available for $8.99 on the PlayStation 4. It does have a Platinum trophy that is mostly about completing the game with each of the classes and completing it on every difficulty, so there is definitely some challenge there. Overall, for a game like this, it may not be as in-depth as some people may like these kind of titles, as I know when it comes to the roguelike dungeon crawler style games, people are very, very particular with them. I, however, am a more casual fan of this genre and absolutely adored what I played while going through it. There was plenty of times where I thought I had the upper hand only to be messed up by a boss that kind of came out of nowhere, or stepping on a trap at the wrong moment and having my character killed, and a good half an hour to an hour of progress lost. And with everything said, I'm going to be giving Quest of Dungeons a 7 out of 10. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.